The possibility of an FE4 remake, year after year, becomes more and more palpable. And who could blame one for thinking it? Faye has been quite giving to Yggdrasil fans, indulging FE4 fanatics with character after character, even tapping into hopes we never had before. Like said, dressing up as Leaf as an ascended hero? I don't know why, but okay. Beyond the blind hope that FE's representation being favorable in Faye is a sign of what's to come, there are of course more tangible things to grasp onto. Like the Engage leak that turned out to be mostly true. True that Engage looked like what it did, false that Studio Gust was involved. This leak also mentioned FE4's remake, nothing beyond that it was in the works, not to mention that with Engage, Sigurd took a more prominent than average role as an emblem, being Lumera's emblem and having more speaking lines than others. Finally, we have Iron 18, the missing internal codename game for all FE games. To catch those unaware up to speed, Iron 17 is 3 houses, Seasons is 3 hopes, and Iron 19 is Engage. And so we are left to wonder if Iron 18 still exists, and if so, is it supposed to be a remake? FE4 is next on the remake supply line. FE1 got Shadow Dragon, FE2 got Echoes, FE3 got New Mystery. It is FE4's turn now. And for every Nintendo Direct, many fans wonder, will this hold the fabled FE4 remake announcement? Like the return of Loptis, many pray for the Sigurd game to return. It has not come true yet, and with September 14th's Nintendo Direct dashing the hopes of fans yet again, what now? Well, to be completely honest, I'm relieved to continue to not hear anything about a remake just yet. I mean, consider this. Rumors have been looming about the Switch's successor being tested. The Switch has been around since 2017, and I personally think that FE4's remake should arrive on a brand new console. Echoes released in 2017 on the 3DS, just a couple years before that console stopped having games made on it. Can you imagine FE4's remake being on a new console altogether? That would be great. A great way to launch that new console, and that's my cope. And personally, I can still wait. We as Fire Emblem fans and strategy RPG fans are really spoiled right now. Whether it's Fire Emblem or not, there always seems to be a SRPG game on the horizon, and we're just eating really good all the time. On the topic at hand, the question is, what would a remake actually look like? Beyond the desperate hope that Hidari returns to illustrate, what would actually change for a great game on a really clunky engine to be properly updated in a modern one? FE4 is a really unique game in the series. It is the only game where trading is straight up not a thing. You can't give items to adjacent units like in FE1, there isn't a gold stockpile for your entire army to use, but instead each unit has their own gold that they can use. This, among the other individualizing aspects for units, means that every single unit in the game has their own economy for which the player must use strategically for that unit to thrive. The depth of this system runs deep, and at the beginning of each chapter, you can enter your starting castle and other castles' hub area, the castle town. From here you can do 6 things. Repair your weapons to full use of the blacksmith, buy new weapons available at the armory, sell and purchase weapons and items provided from other units at the pawnbroker, fight 7 enemy units in the arena to earn EXP and gold, store a unit's equipment and items in their own personal supply, and go to the augury. The armory and the pawn shop are the only communal areas in the castle town. The armory has a limited supply of weapons to buy, and the pawn shop is this game's way of trading between units. As you earn gold through rescuing villages, winning arena battles, and selling your weapons, you can use that gold for weapon repair and item purchasing. And so you build a character around the game's communal restrictions, and at its core is a deliberate removal of traditional trading. You can't have Fire Emblem Genealogy of the Holy War without all of the systems that tie it together that make FE4's unique unit economy. In my opinion, for a remake to be made proper, this entire system needs to be preserved, properly communicated to new players of FE4, and finally, needs to be better optimized. While the system is built well, and those who are fans of the gameplay cite the castle activities and the optimizations therein to be one of the best parts of the gameplay, the actual engine, like all of Kaga's games, is a clunker. Anyone who has played FE4 has wrestled with a handful of system issues, like the dread of arena grinding. The fear of missing out of not min-maxing every relevant unit in the arena leads them to min-max every relevant unit in the arena. Sitting through the same arena battles over and over, sometimes losing, starting over, and trying again for 7 fights in a row, multiplying that by however many units you have, which gets higher and higher as you do this for 11 chapters. The arena grind is the most notoriously boring thing about the game, in my opinion, and made worse because getting it done in the outset of a chapter is the most optimal way to go about it. In other words, this adds more chores to do before you get into the action. FOMO on EXP and other resources in a resource-based strategy game is inevitable, and no FE game with these limitations can avoid that. But what I hope for is a system that can make this process seamless and compelling for all types of players, whether you love the arena or don't, or whether you want to optimize your arena or you just want to min-max everything. There's no reason why you can't cater to both crowds. Low-key, I worry for a remake to not use common sense here because they somehow still can't figure out how to make a hub area's arena not a giant pain in the ass. At least in 3 houses you could press skip battle and get to each unit's result for the 4 or so battles they have to do, but Engage genuinely pissed me off with how that entire arena mechanic worked in that game. You couldn't even skip arena intro dialogue. The thing with arena systems in Fire Emblem is that I do not want to watch them fight sometimes. In fact, most of the time, especially as I'm progressing through the midway or late game. If I want to watch FE units fight, I turn animations on in the maps and let my colorful units wail on the enemy. We already have the ability to skip enemy phase during maps. Why are similar considerations absent from hub worlds? FE4's arena grind needs to have the option to just be automatic at the push of a button. They need to make this process as fast as possible, especially to accommodate players who, understandably, are not compelled by this aspect of the game. And sure, you can never fully automate an arena run that fully maximizes all the resources exclusive to each unit. Having the option to navigate the arena either manually or automatically would appease everyone while still making those choices relevant to the game's unique economy. It's a shame that FE4's thought-out unit progression is marred by its own slow as fuck engine and inability to skip arena animations at the very least. I legitimately think if this process was automated, or skippable in some capacity, you would actually save dozens of hours of playtime over the course of a remake of this game. I wouldn't put it past intelligent systems to inject FE4's units with Echo's adjacent modernizations like combat arts, personal skills, and reworked class skills, and those are all okay. In fact, I would look forward to that. I fully trust intelligent systems to continue their upward trend of making the player phase stronger, and in my personal opinion, more fun. Player phase was already decently strong in FE4, so they have the groundwork. The game really just needs many Fire Emblem user experience improvements. Auto battles, auto end turns, AI commands, entire turn skips, and fast forward settings. A lot of FE4's original playtime is heavily inflated from walking around between castles in empty space. Here are some following UI improvements which are kind of a given with the remake and are, in my opinion, less severe than the arena grind, although the former is very related to UI/UX anyway. Gold is tradable, but only among lovers. But you can only give all of your gold in your inventory, and that takes an entire turn. A modern system should let you pick the amount, alongside it not taking an entire turn to do. On the topic of UI, the lover point system could be more easily understood. Blind players aren't even told what the system even is, how close they are to pairing up another unit, and the fact that there's also a jealousy system. When I played FE4, I accidentally paired Do with a female character that I didn't intend for. The lover system and the pairings are like the most iconic mechanic in the game, so making it crystal clear on what everything does and how many points you have would be really nice in my opinion. The empty space is an interesting dilemma though. Each map in FE4, save for the prologue, is 64 tiles wide by 64 tiles high. They're meant to encompass entire countries and territories in large-scale battles meant to happen over the course of months, which, as a side effect, means FE4 has no actual indoor maps. I do think the map size was too big despite their intentions, but to what extent they need to be cut down is for them to decide. The walking simulator moments of FE4 would be made more manageable with modern touches helping the pacing, because pacing is a big problem for the original. You would go from exciting gameplay to backtracking, or castle activities to annoying terrain for way too long, then back to excitement, then back to trekking about. But it's easier to manage pacing if there are systems in place that make it easier to manage. I'm not asking for no downtime between castles, but certainly less downtime. And to be honest, I think that's about it. Now, let's move on to story and characters. The actual thing that Fire Emblem communities talk about when it comes to an FE4 remake. Will they change the story? What about all the incest? Would an FE4 remake be censored in some way? The biggest concern for me isn't actually what happens story-wise in the game. FE4 did a lot of tell, don't show, and FE in general relies on players to make inferences on how things happened off-screen. In my opinion, only talking about the dark stuff retroactively being the default choice happens because displaying stuff like physical torture, sexual assault, and the like can't and would never be displayed in-engine, and would be too explicit to maintain its ESRB rating if it was illustrated in CG form. Three Houses has a ton of dark and messed up moments with explicit violent language, but it skirts by because it's all talk. FE4's messed up moments don't need to be reduced in severity for that reason, and in my opinion, the real concern about the story and characters is in character ages and the incestuous relationships. Tackling one at a time, I would not be surprised if all characters were simply aged up, like how Elise was in overseas versions of Fates. There can be some noteworthy age gaps for character pairings before even getting into the fact that some of these pairings are also incestuous. Shannon and Larcey are Generation 2 playable units with base 200 lover points. Larcey is around 15 to 16, while Shannon ought to be in his mid-20s. They're also cousins, and Shannon was acting as one of her caretakers from birth. Arvis is around 6 to 7 before Deirdre is even born, but the entire plot of FE4 works because they don't even know they're related. Another half-sibling romance, although perhaps one-sided, is Loxus and Eldigan. While Eldigan isn't a playable character, there's a few instances where Loxus's feelings for her half-brother are indirectly mentioned. Beowulf's lover conversation with her alludes to her true feelings, and in Nana's and Ares' lover conversation, it's mentioned that Loxus was in love with him. The half-siblings / cousin marriages are significant in FE4, and you just can't avoid that. They have gameplay implications, and canonical relationships are also incestual. Seliph and Julia have the same mom, Arvis and Deirdre have the same mom, not that these are a canonical couple, but Shannon and Larcey are related, Lester and Patty or Faval and Lana are pairings, but their moms are sisters. It's just a thing in FE4, so unless you want to swap out lover points with best friend points for Gen 2 and get all three hopes up in here, this is a concession that we'll all just deal with, which honestly should be okay. It's not a big deal. While it's reasonable to argue that nothing should be changed in these two regards since it's a medieval fantasy, it's relatively easy to write around age gaps, even with a time skip in this game. I think if you want to concede anything, it's that. There will inevitably be characters whose story, once laying on the down low due to accessibility issues with FE4, will be thrown right into the center of the cage match that is the Fire Emblem community. I just hope that the writers don't pull punches with characters like Arvis, Julia, Ishtar, Manfroy, Hilda, and others in that vein. But I do worry over how, and when honestly, FE4's more challenging and controversial story intentions will be completely misunderstood. When that happens, I'll just watch from afar, writing from my desk. And with that out of the way, I do think liberties can be taken in some parts of FE4's plot, namely its second generation. Gen 1 is, in my opinion, a marvelous story, and for it to be preserved and shown to the masses will be great to see. And sure, you have a ton of material to flesh out the relevant events and characters of Gen 1, like Arvis's parents being the flashpoint of the story, Prince Kurth's death, and just more of Kurth in general, or even some nicer things like Sigurd, Quan's, and Eldigan's dynamic together. But Generation 2 has always lacked in my eyes. Beyond a few great highlights with the second generation like Teena's character development, the numerous interactions between Lewin and Seliph, and Lewin and his children, Gen 2 plays more like a traditional Fire Emblem story of reclaiming the continent and ending a war against a big evil dragon. And you seriously could not get more evil than Loptis himself. I was low-key afflicted with the curse of wanting more from FE4 ever since my video, The Dread of Genealogy, whereupon I talked about Kaga's developer notes of scenarios he had in mind that never made it in the game, like Azel being petrified and sent to the basement of Veltomer Castle, being restored by Julia with her newly acquired power from Naga, or any of the scenarios having to do with a third act of Genealogy. In addition, because Thracia 776 was made a midquel to Genealogy retroactively, so many characters from FE5 could very easily be incorporated into FE4. Sias, the other son of Arvis, Avel, the leader of the Fianna Freeblades, my wife, and long-lost mother to Patty and Favale, alongside her Marita, her adopted daughter, humanizing Trevant more and making him more sympathetic in his intentions of uniting Thracia. Maybe throw in Olwyn too and weave something with her and Child Hunts. The possibilities are there to bolster Generation 2's character interaction. With all these moving parts in Yggdrasil, it would be really cool for us to see some of them play out in paralog form. Modern hardware allows for these subplots to happen. alongside support conversations to develop the entire cast. These paralogs don't also need to be 64 by 64, but maybe you can have some modern-styled Fire Emblem maps that are just smaller in scale that tell their own story that helps bridge everything together. While I could fantasize about new scenarios from Kaga's notes and characters from FE5 being playable, I won't put my hopes up too high. I just know there's so much material that can make Generation 2 a great story that can measure up to Generation 1. And that's kind of all I have to say about a hypothetical FE4 remake right now. With a properly timed release and a lot of care like Echoes was treated, FE4 can have a remake and reception it rightfully deserves. Thanks for watching. Deuces.